What is the creepiest dream you've ever had? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. My recurring dream or nightmare as a child wasn't actually that scary in content, but always terrified me. Looking back now though, I'm super effing creeped out by it. The recurring nightmare only happened when I was a kid, under 12. It was my point of view in a stationary position, watching a little girl walking down the street but through blinds. The blinds in the wall were just black though, like I didn't have lights on or something. She'd just walk, but it was like she was walking in place. She didn't actually move forward. The background moved though, and I would watch through the blinds, occasionally closing them and reopening them to the girl walking with a different background, usually pathways with walls that I actually recognized from my own life. I say I because it didn't feel like the watcher was actually me. I felt more like I was actually the little girl, despite only experiencing the nightmare from the watcher's point of view, and the girl not really looking like me, although I never saw her face. I always woke up in a cold sweat, breathing really fast, but couldn't explain why it was so scary when I was a kid. Looking back on it as an adult, after I experienced it again for the first time in a decade, not super recently though, I'm so creeped out. Like, WTF kind of nightmare dream is that? It's so ducking creepy. I used to have a recurrent dream in which I went to a sector of my garden, pulled the grass in patches, and found little uncanny things hiding under the earth. Notable ones: kittens, not creepy themselves, but dying or dead from being there with no air, so a creepy sight. Weird, luminous fungi, bones. It was always the same spot in the garden, and I always felt desperate in the dreams. Haven't dreamt this for a while now, and I hope it doesn't come back. Makes me think I should grab a shovel and see if there's actually something buried there, but I don't want to know. We do. Go for it. Ew. I dreamed I was some sort of sergeant or unit leader in Central Europe who led a unit to kill and rape people in something like the early 20th century. It really disturbed me, as I didn't know I was capable of such thoughts. Creepy dream? So, not a nightmare? If so, that one where I woke up inside a video game interface folder, like you have on PC, and have been live browsing the game files. Each file was like a giant room. There was nothing truly scary or disturbing in the files actually, but the dream still kinda creeped me out. OMG, the witch in my window was actually just a tree, came to life and chased my brother and I through the woods behind our house. Sounds pretty mild, but it seemed so real that I couldn't trust my awesome brother for years. The dream started with me waking up on my couch, somehow having been magically moved to the center of my mom's living room while I was sleeping. I woke up, definitely thought it was weird, but kept going on with my day. So I call to the north end of the house, and my mom responds, and I ask her if she can drive me to work, otherwise I'll be late. So I just go ahead and start pacing around the house waiting for my mom to get ready to take me to work. So I'm down at the south end of the house, and I walk down the hallway past the guest bedroom and see my mom milling about doing something. I don't think about it, and I walk another 5 feet where I look into the bathroom and see my mom again. I say, "Mom?" And I look to see her standing in the hall outside of the guest bedroom, and she just goes, "Yeah." And I look back in the bathroom and she's still there. And I look back at the hall and she's still there. And I screamed and passed out. Then I woke up for real this time. This dream actually happened to me last night. So me and my friend were just fooling around on the school campus. Nothing unusual. We usually just fool around after school for 15 minutes before we leave. Once we got to his house, some kid came in, didn't recognize him, and then another one came in. Out of nowhere, my friend just shot one of them. And without hesitation, I shot one too. I freaked out so much for the next minute, and subconsciously I said, "You take care of the bodies, I'll clean the blood." Next thing I know, we're cleaning up the bodies, burying them in my friend's backyard. Once my parents came to pick me up, I was just thinking in the car, I'm a ducking murderer. What have I done? I'm going to hell. And at that instant, I woke up and my dad told me to get dressed. I have recently had a reoccurring lucid dream that always continues where it left off. It started off pretty normal and got creepier and creepier. So basically, I opened my bathroom door and it warped me outside of a house that I vaguely remember from my childhood, but it was in the middle of a forest, always taking place in the middle of the night. In the pitch black darkness of the forest, I see a golden yellow eyes glowing and staring at me, and a piercing screech. Every time it's a six-legged deer that always closer and closer to me, but always ends up running off into the forest at a high speed. It always ends with me entering the house through the garage for some reason. I'm still waiting for the day the deer gets close enough for me to touch it. I wonder what will happen. Not the creepiest ever, but the creepiest I've had in a while since it happened last week. To sum the dream up, towards the end of the dream, I'm in Tony Soprano's kitchen watching him make Cinnabons. There was no dialogue between us, but he just smiled as he was baking those sweets. Though I was in that kitchen, it still kind of felt like I was watching it happen on TV. I transitioned to a hotel bed with just me and my girlfriend. I'm on the phone with my boy talking about whatever. Then I feel the left side of my face go numb. I knew it was the sleep paralysis starting to take over me. I knew it was happening in real life too. And I remember telling him I had to go because I was losing control of my body. I lay back in the bed with my girl. Then I look over at her. Her face wasn't super clear to me, but it looked different. It was pale, and the best thing I could describe it as, it was a dead old person. It freaked me out, so I closed my eyes. Then I hear this disgruntled voice, clear as day, in my ear saying, "Call redacted," over and over again. Obviously, redacted is my girlfriend's name. I felt her get close to me in my dream as my eyes were closed. In real life, I was laying next to my girlfriend in bed, and she said I was making weird noises, and it woke her out of her sleep. So she pushed me until I finally broke out of the dream, but I was shaken up for a minute once I awoken. My creepy dream is that I'm a lab, the lights are out and I only have a flashlight, and I'm walking down some narrow halls, and then my flashlight dies, and then a figure appears, and all it says is, "Why did you do this to me?" over and over and over before it grabs me and slams me on the floor, and that's when I wake up. I used to have this dream like once or twice a month as a kid, and it really freaked me out. My other one is that I'm flying a jet, and then all of a sudden an alarm goes off and it says, "Humanity has fallen, we have taken over, surrender now or die." And then it turns to midnight, and all of a sudden I'm crashing. That's when I wake up. Most recently, I dreamt that the body of my recently deceased grandmother was under a blanket in the spare bedroom. I turned to my uncle who invited me there. I saw her body in the casket. I watched them close the lid. I carried the casket to the grave with my brothers. I watched it get lowered into the ground, and I watched them cover it with dirt. "What the duck is she doing here?" I shouted. My uncle gave no answer. When I was a little kid, I dreamt that I come walking into the kitchen and my dad is drinking with his buddies at the table. He used to build houses, and he always had these guys visiting all the time. Well, anyways, they were chilling at the table, but there was also a werewolf sitting there drinking too. I was scared, and I jumped on my dad and was trying to find safety by sitting on him. This werewolf was acting like it never noticed me, but I knew it wanted to get me, and my dad and everyone was oblivious that this werewolf was sitting with them. I couldn't understand. Then I woke up. Years later, when I was an adult, I was telling my mom this dream, and she said that she thinks she knows what the dream meant. She said that she bets that one of my dad's friends at the time had bad intentions for me, but they were scared of my dad, because my dad was a pretty good scrapper. Then she said she bets it was my Uncle Clint, who was always around. I remember that guy was awesome. He used to play with me and hang out with me all the time. But then looking at it again, I was being groomed. Luckily, his fear of my dad kept me safe. I'm on mobile, so sorry in advance. I had this dream when I was about 3. I'm 27 now, and it's still fresh in my mind. To set the scene, I lived with my mom in some ghetto apartments in California, our balcony facing a big empty field. So in the dream, it was stormy out, and everything had a dark orangish tint to it, think wildfire smoke. I was in my apartment when my mom came in yelling that we had to get out of there, just absolutely terrified. So, being the good little kid I was, I followed her while basically shitting my pants. We go under the fence and into the field behind our place when the lightning and thunder starts, but instead of rain, giant kitchen appliances start falling from the sky. I'm talking ovens, refrigerators, microwaves, and all those things. They're making huge craters in the ground, and my mom and I are running trying not to get hit. Then one falls on my mom, but barely misses me. I'm still running, and then I get hit and immediately woke up. Strangest and creepiest dream I've had other than my horses talking to me. 2 dreams, both when I was a kid. 1. I was at a sleepover at my friend's place. I woke up in the dream and noticed that none of my friends were in the room with me. I opened the door and went downstairs. I heard noises coming from the front door. When I look around the corner, I see a pile of mutilated bodies on the floor. The door is wide open, and my mother is on her hands and knees eating the flesh of all the bodies. She looks up and notices me before screaming and taking off sprinting towards me. I would wake up after that. 2. This dream took place in SpongeBob's Pineapple. Me and SpongeBob would sit around playing board games. I kept asking to leave, and he would grab me and tell me I couldn't. I got scared and ran out of the door. When he wasn't looking, and when I opened the door, it was just a hellscape outside. Tendrils of red biomass were shooting out in every direction. Giant spider cat creatures were crawling around everywhere. You could hear the howls of monsters. I just closed the door and went back to playing games with SpongeBob. Good choice. When I was really little, I had recurring dreams of the Running Fast Man. He was an imaginary character I had seen in several of my nightmares, and he got the name from his ability to run at superhuman speed. I still vividly remember how he looked. Midget, lab coat, a large round glass over his head with little plasma lasers shooting around, and a brain floating in the middle, paired with large veiny eyes and red tattooed skin, similar to Darth Maul. A recurring dream where I'm lost in a cemetery and have the feeling something very bad is near. In the dream, I'm trying to escape whatever it is, but I never see it, but get the feeling it's lurking very close behind me always, while getting increasingly more and more lost. I hate that dream, always makes me so uneasy.